Hello, friends. So I got a ton of requests to make a video for this rock that I did. So here is my process. I am using a moonshadow stone from Santorini Stones by Shelley, or Stones by Shelley. She is on Etsy, so you can shop anytime. And these stones are beautiful. And I wanted to leave the stone natural because it has such a beautiful design on it. So I'm starting off with my Pentec pencil, and it's a 0.7. And, excuse me, it's a 0.5, I think. I start off with the 7, and you're going to see in a second I get frustrated and start messing with it because it all of a sudden it quit working on me and I had to go find another pencil. So I finally get it straightened out here in a second. So I'm just loosely drawing these flowers on. There's no, you don't gotta be perfect about it. They don't gotta, the leaves don't have to be all the same length or anything like that. It's just doodle flowers. But I'm doing it on a natural rock. And so I'm going to be using watercolor on a natural rock. And I wanted to show y'all my process and how well it worked. So I'm just still sketching and erasing. I'm still working on sketching stuff by hand without tracing and doing any of that, and so I make some mistakes, but that's okay. That's how you learn. So now I'm going to use my Liquitex gesso, clear gesso, and I'm going to put the clear gesso just on the spots that I'm going to be putting watercolor. Now the awesome thing about the clear gesso is that it gives the watercolor grip, and that's what I was going for, is some grip. Now you can use white gesso if you want to, if that's all you have. I just have the clear gesso, and so that's what I used, but you could definitely use white gesso too if you wanted to. I don't care if a little bit of the design comes through on the leaves or the petals, but you'll see that not much of it does actually. So the watercolor I'm using today is called Bohemian Vibes. It's from the Foiling Rock Lady, and I was the one that actually came up with the plan, and I mixed up the paints myself, and I poured them, and we put them together, and I'm super proud of this set, and I'm only using Bohemian Vibes today on this rock. So I sprayed a little water on them to get them activated, and I'm using a very small, I can't remember the number, I think it's a 2, it might be a 4, watercolor brush. It's a round. And as you see, I really work that watercolor around. I am a watercolorist that uses as little water as I possibly can. I don't like using a whole lot of water. So you're going to see I spray a little water on there, and then I really work the paint and work the paint. So I want it to be a little bit thick but not watery. So that's what I did. And then I just start filling in all the petals. And it's this beautiful, rich color that I'm just so happy with this set. We don't have any full sets left available, but there are some square ups, which are basically little samples. They're a little bigger than what I would call a sample. They're going to last you for a while. But we do have some of those left in case you want this beautiful set. We are going to work on trying to recreate this set at some point. But if you do want to sample this out, we do have square ups available at the Foiling Rock Lady on Etsy. So I'm just filling in all the petals with that beautiful magenta color. These are super pigmented, so you're going to have no problems with coverage unless you use a lot of water. As I said, I'm not one that uses a lot of water. I like to really work the color and make it thick and put it on to where it's almost more like a gouache rather than watercolor. So I got all the petals done. Now I'm going to be using the golden yellow. And I'm going to start applying that in the leaves. And I'm going to do yellow, and then I'm going to do one of the greens, which has a little bit of a turquoise cast to it. But when you add it to the yellow, you start getting an actual green. And you'll see that in a second. I went ahead and applied it to the whole leaves on this set because the leaves are bigger. And then I used too much water, so I went and cleaned up my mess. And you can see how that rock is darkening right there. So you can see that beautiful design when I go to resin this rock. You're going to see it pop out. So here I'm just applying the yellow on the tips. And then I'm applying the yellow in the center. I'm sorry it's blurry at times. I do not know why. I don't know if it's catching a glare on my brush or what. But I'm just applying it to the corners, and I'm going to come back in with some orange in a minute and blend into that. Oh, picked the wrong color. Back to the darker color. I'm glad I caught it, although I could have fixed it. That's the cool thing about watercolor. So now I'm bringing in that darker green, and I just go up to midway or so, and then I'll go back in and fade it in. Or blend it in, I should say.
This is a reminder. Take meds.
Sorry about the background noise. My husband has to take his meds. So now I'm just blending in. And I'm bringing the yellow down from the top a little bit. And that was starting to pool a little, so I'm bringing that part up. And you just keep working it until you get the blend that you like. And I'm just looking for it to fade from yellow to green. Now on to the other one. And I'm going to do the same thing. This is a really fun way to do this, and I'm going to be doing more like this that's on a natural rock. I just absolutely love the way it came out, and I definitely want to do more of these. So I hope this helps and answers a whole bunch of your questions. I've got gotten so many questions about this particular rock. I went ahead and made this video a little bit longer. I usually speed them up faster. But I really wanted y'all to see everything that I did and not miss anything. So I only sped it up twice. So now I'm putting in a little bit of that orange, and I just dotted along, and then I wiped off my brush and I go back in and I start blending. And if I need to, I'll go back and add a little bit of yellow and go back in over the top. Now I'm going to put the orange around the outside, and I'm going to do it the same way. Once it's on the outside, I'm going to wipe my brush off, and then I'm going to go in and start blending. And you just keep working it back and forth until you get it where you like it. And as you see, I'm keeping my paints pretty thick I'm not adding too much water to it, and if it gets too much water, I try to soak it up in the brush and take some out because I do not want my watercolors to be too watery. I think that's how this worked well on a natural rock. So there's a little bit of a trick to it, but it's easy. You just have to get the right consistency. All I did was spray it with water, and then I worked the brush in the watercolor, and that's it. So now I'm working on the centers. I went back and added a little bit to the middle, and then on that particular one I needed to go in and add a little bit more orange. And then I do a little more blending. And then for the last part, I went back and just dotted the very center a little bit more with the yellow, and I'm going to let that dry. Now onto the bright pink, I'm just going to add a little bit to the left flower at the top of the petals. This bright pink is so gorgeous. And I'm doing the same thing. I just worked a little bit of water into the pan, into the watercolor. Not too much water. Now, if you're applying the watercolor and you start getting like a dry brush or dry, it's not wanting to apply smoothly, then you want to add just a little bit of water to your brush. So I went and took my rock out. I let it dry completely. I took it out and I sprayed it with Rust-Oleum 2X matte spray. Let it dry, and now I'm outlining with a Posca 1MR, and I'm just going to outline both of the flowers. The Posca 1MR is my favorite. For the thick lines, I'm going to use a Ohuhu fine liner to do the little marks on the bottom part of the flower underneath the petals. I don't know what that's called. And I'm not crazy about those Ohuhus. They work okay, but it's what I had, so that's what I used. And I mean, they work okay, and they're fade resistant and smudge resistant, so they did the job, but they're just not quite as dark as I like. So I'm lining the leaves, drawing the stem. This is when I add the points to the leaves. I didn't do that so much with the drawing or the watercolor, but then you can add that little tip as you line out the flowers. Now you couldn't see it on camera because I'm off camera right here, but I did add just a little bit of lines at the bottom of those two leaves just to make a little darkness there. Now I'm adding some lines to the petals. I added them to the leaves also. Now some little doodle lines. You can use a dotter if you want to do the black dots with a dotter. You can totally do that, but I just used my Posca. I will be using a dotter in a little while. So I added some lines to those petals. This is the Ohuhu. It's a 0.1, I think, or it might be a 0.2. But see, it's super light. And it turns out looking pretty good, though. So I'm happy with it. But if you have microns or the Copic multi-liners are my favorite. I just don't have any right now. Now I'm adding lines and zigzags. I did the zigzag or the cross pattern on the crisscross pattern on the one, and then the other one just has little lines on the top and the bottom. Give it a little personality. And now I'm going to start with some swirlies. And these are totally random, just whatever you want to do. You can not put the swirlies in, you can add more swirlies, you can do different doodles. It's just to kind of fill in the empty space. And I'm making a black dot because I'm going to go back in a minute with some gold. So I got a little bit of black apple barrel, and I'm just going to dot some little dots along the back side of my swirlies. That one, I got the first two dots a little too close together, so I will end up fixing that later. I'm off camera again, so sorry about that, y'all. So, I forgot to add the two little dots to the leaves, so I come back and do that with the Posca. And then I'm going to dot the ends of the leaves on the left flower. That's where I'm trying to fix my little mess up there. Now, what I'm using for the gold is called Yucatan gold, and it's some gouache that Wanda from the Foiling Rock Lady made for me. I absolutely love the Yucatan gold, and we normally have it in the metallic shots. We have that is on our agenda to make the metallic shots very soon, so the Yucatan gold should be available very soon. It is my favorite, and as you see, it's beautiful on here, especially on top of a black dot. I love it. And that's just to give it a little bling. And there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.